Everybody out there, I like to update you on things that are happening around the world. And unfortunately, Iran has just executed two gay men accused of forcible sodomy, human rights group says. First of all, I want to say rest in peace to the 900,000 people who have died of COVID in the United States over the last 2 years. 900,000 people is the equivalent of losing the cities of... What do you want to pick? Do you want to say, hey, let's lose St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati? That's the equivalent of the number of people that we've lost. Or maybe let's just say, hey, we lost San Francisco. We lost San Francisco. Yeah. We lost San Francisco, and we can say, yeah, San Francisco has 900,000 people. It's sad. But anyway, let's get to the story. I don't want to offend anybody or, make this about politics. First of all, Iran executed two gay men on Thursday, according to a human rights group. The men spent 6 years on death row after being arrested on charges of forcible sodomy. The charges of forcible sodomy should not be viewed as credible or legitimate, an Iranian activist told Insider. Iran has executed two gay men who were convicted of charges of sodomy. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce this guy's name. He's aged 32, and another guy were executed on Thursday after spending years on death row at a prison. The men were arrested 6 years ago on charges of forcible sodomy and were later sentenced to death. Under Iranian law, forcible sodomy is defined as non-consensual same-sex intercourse, but even consensual sex between two men is punishable by death. Human rights activist Shadi Amin, executive director of Iranian LGBTQ advocacy group Six Ring, is urging people to challenge the legitimacy of the charges. Rule of law and fair trials do not exist in the Iranian judicial system, Amin told Insider. Therefore, any ruling issued in this system cannot be considered credible or legitimate. According to an LGBT charity, Outright National, most executions follow rushed trials and questionable investigative methods. Convictions are sometimes based on confessions forced by torture. Outright International said, and attorneys face intimidation by the government. A source familiar with the situation told Insider that these two men were denied legal counsel. The Iranian regime has not publicly addressed the purported execution. Homosexuality is illegal in Iran, and LGBTQ plus communities face discrimination, prosecution, and being killed. Alright, first of all, I don't know. I think that the majority of us believe that people should be able to do whatever they want. I think that's the mindset that we have growing up in America. I think being in America has kind of conditioned us to think that, hey, even if I don't agree with something, hey, I feel like other people who find happiness in what I disagree with, they can do it. Do what floats your boat, because I'm going to do what floats my boat. I think that's the mentality that we're conditioned to have in America. But that's kind of it's not the type of mentality that everybody has. And I think that this situation illustrates that. In a lot of African countries as well. When I say Africa, I'm speaking about West, East, North, South Africa. I'm speaking about Uganda specifically. There are reports of people being murdered for simply being gay. These countries, the presidents of these countries, such as Uganda, come out and publicly tell people through the media, hey, we don't accept homosexuality in Uganda, and we're going to kill who's ever gay. That's not something that we tolerate. And a lot of these people associate being gay with pedophilia in their propaganda. First of all, I look at it like this. If you're going to be the kind of person who fights for your own rights, fights for your own freedom, if you're the kind of person who feels like you have a struggle to fight for better rights for your people, then I don't think that you have the right to, illegitimize somebody else's struggle for freedom. At the end of the day, we all have that in common, struggling for freedom. And I just think it's hypocritical for anybody to say, hey, my struggle is more important than yours. Or, yeah, I'm fighting for freedom for my people, but your freedom is irrelevant. So, just keep this in mind. Being in America, we are privileged. This is why everybody wants to come to America. This is why America is the #1 country in the world for migration. Because people know that we have this attitude of, hey, be who you want to be, as long as you don't get in my way. But in other places like Iran, where Sharia law is imposed, And one thing about Iran that I want you guys to look up is this. Before 1979, Iran actually was a secular, democratic country. They had a king who was actually sponsored by America, best friends with America. What happened was there was a revolution by the Ayatollah Khomeini in 1979, and that's when the Iran hostage crisis happened. When these students were kidnapped and captured in Iran. It happened right when Ronald Reagan was running for president, and Jimmy Carter lost the presidency because he failed to, be dependable in that situation. He failed to get those students back. But Iran, ever since 1979, they've took a hard line, and they've been intense rivals with Saudi Arabia ever since. That's why we are, friends of Saudi Arabia, because, even though they have a hard line religiously, we want to support them because we know that Iran and Saudi Arabia are titans in that part of the world, and we know that Saudi Arabia and Iran have had historical beef for centuries. Iran, popular country. I forgot what is it. Iran, regardless of popular belief, they're not Arabs. They are They're Iranian. Iranians are different from Arabs, and the Arabs came into Iran and Arabized them, made them convert to Arab ways, and they Islamicized them. So there's always been a fight between the Arabs and the Iranians in terms of supremacy over that particular area. Even though Iran was Islamicized and Arabized, they still maintained their own unique Persian culture. And as the years went on, Sunni Islam was actually, Shiite. The Shiite doctrine of Islam, which is one of the two big ones. It's Sunni and Shiite. Shiitism was created in Iran, and they actually are the god. Basically, they're like the main country in that part of the world that when it comes to that particular version of Islam. And Sunni Islam, of course, the major country in the world that supports that is Saudi Arabia, because they have all the holy sites like Mecca and the pilgrimage sites. So Iran and Saudi Arabia have this beef going on because it's like a supremacy for Islam, and it's a supremacy for influence in that area. All the people in that area, all the Islamic people, Arab people, Iranian people, whatever, in that particular part of the world, who are Shiites, pledge their allegiance to Iran, and Iran will support them with military weapons and things like that. And it's the same thing with the Saudi Arabians when it comes to Sunnis. That's why Saudi Arabia and the United States sponsor the Taliban, and we helped them out because Saudi Arabia was friendly with Pakistan, because Pakistan is a majority Sunni country, and we are cool with the Sunnis. Saudi Arabia is our friend to the exclusion of Iran. Peace.